Donald Trump, I know him about, I would say 30 years. I spent a lot of time with him on Celebrity Apprentice, and I think he's a great guy, and he was great to me. You see, he loved me because I was honest and respect. Donald can't stand liars. He can't stand cowards. He can't stand people who procrastinate. He can't stand people who don't take action for themselves to better themselves. That's what it comes down to. And I learned a lot from him about branding, and he's a good human being because if you get to know him, he's a soft-hearted guy.
Yeah.
And he speaks his mind. But so what? He says the truth. Well, in New York, being in New York, you know, they basically speak their mind as they have their feel. Like growing up with my family, I'm an Italian family, and there's so much drama in my house. There's no hanging on passive aggressiveness. It's all about speaking and saying how you feel in the moment. And a lot of times people feel in New York are kind of like rude and be obnoxious. But, you know, if someone says something to me and I have to say the truth, they say, oh, Lou is so obnoxious, you're so rude. But I said the truth. Man, I want to say like this is in a nice way, I'm going to hurt your feelings. I'm saying from New York, it's not like that. And Donald's from New York, and he says how it is. But that's the nature. Like, for example, if you go to Italy, and you drive to Italy, I've made a few films there. Now, Italy, when you're driving, if somebody gets upset, they get out of the car, they scream and yell at each other without touching each other, and they drive off. It's your emotion, it's Italian. So, think about New York. It's the same kind of, you know, culture.
And Donald's a real man. That's what I love about Donald Trump, is he's a real man. There's no wishy-washy anything about him. I love his honesty. I love the way he handles his life. I can't, there's not one person that I could think of that I would rather have for president. I feel safe with him. That's the way I want to be able to live, where I can go to sleep at night, not worry so much about my children having this horrible life that's going to happen to us if he doesn't become president. And I believe that completely. Yes, we want our laws to, it's very important, I mean, to have your laws respected. And they're not being respected, they're being changed. The Constitution is getting changed. It's wrong.
It's not about banning away illegal immigrants. What about fixing the immigration system when they come here legally? Just get the proper people.
We have an immigration system.
And I think it's great. They could work just like anybody else, as long as they earn their legal immigration papers. But to come here legally, the proper way, is fine.
Yes, Donald, during the time that he was doing that show, at the very beginning, and I watched every second of everything that went on every day, and talked to Lou. When I wasn't with him in New York, I was on the phone with him talking to him. Donald completely changed. Like, he had no idea that Lou was 80%. Hard of hearing, but 80%. That's huge. And he had no idea. He completely turned Lou into, I mean, he had more respect, he had more softness, more sweetness, more kindness. I just watched him become different, knowing that he was not perfect.
Well, what happened to my life was about overcoming adversity. And after about the second or third show, I think someone told him, because a couple of times there were conversations that I kind of didn't hear. So someone mentioned him about my situation. And you know, it's funny, since I've been on Celebrity Apprentice, I had ear surgery. And it helped me tremendously. So my life changed because not just of the surgery, but being on Celebrity Apprentice, I learned so much about branding and how much you like to help people raise money. The money doesn't go in his pocket from the charity. So basically, when he understood that, he knew I was a fighter, I was a warrior. That he appreciates that, because he doesn't like people that basically they have no respect for themselves.
I have a wonderful story about Donald that nobody really knows. And when I was with him after The Apprentice that night on Sunday night, I asked him, I said, I have to hear it from you. Is it true, the story you told me about the young couple? And it was a wonderful story. Donald is a man that does a lot of things for charity that he never talks about. He never tells anybody. Sometimes it gets out, and lots of times it has not, because he doesn't work that way. He does what he does out of his heart, and he's got a very good heart. He was one time he was on his way to Vegas, and his limousine broke down. And a young couple stopped, and the man the young couple and the man said, "I will fix your tire for you," because he didn't. I mean, he's probably not a guy that does tires very well. So the young couple were there with them in the desert, and they'd just been stuck. So they put the tire. This young guy puts the tire on, gets them going again, and he thanked them profusely for helping him, and he got to Vegas very well. A week later, there's he goes to wherever, found out about his home, where he lived, where they were, and he paid off the rest of their house, the entire amount. And Donald paid off this couple's house, and they were just young, didn't have much. They were just kind to him, and he really helped them a lot. And he never told that story. He never. I don't know. I don't even remember how I knew it, but I think somebody mentioned it at some passing or something years ago, and I had to ask him because I didn't know if it was true or not. But he said yes, it's true.
See, the problem with people attacking Trump, a lot of people, they're jealousy because he's a billionaire. And you always have people being jealous of wealthy people, but Donald's an exception because he cares about the people, because he judges people for who they are, not how much money they have. That's important. Because if you're going to be president of the United States, it's all about caring about the people. And he said he loved all people, but everybody wants to take a strike at him because the fact that he's accumulated so much wealth, building skyscrapers, especially in Florida. And everybody that's been in politics, nobody's perfect. You say the wrong thing in the wrong time, and they want to haunt you about 30 years ago. Everybody makes mistakes. This is about becoming a president. It's nothing to do with going and digging in the past. If you're picking your nose, or if you're just, flashing yourself on Bourbon Street in Louisiana. Like that, what the people come out of the woodwork. This is about the president, about taking care of our country and the world. When you talk about making America great again, of course he could have put the hat on. They'd be concerned about the farmers, concerned about, like for example, in Michigan, about all the workers, with the automobile plant, all the people suffering. Also, different people, for example, if they can't afford jobs, they have to move out of the state. And also our tax situation, our economy, and basically reshaping our country. Like, for example, there's so many factories moving to other countries, like Mexico, but the fact that because it's cheap labor, bring them back here. He's going to bring them back here. It's all about perfect common sense. And Donald, here's the way you look at it about Donald. He started from nothing. He's never been in politics. Mr. Donald Trump went from real estate straight to #1 running for the president of the United States. What did I tell you? That man is intelligent, the man understands, the man great in debate, and I feel strong about him because the fact that he handled himself so well in his debate, people fear him because he talks about things that we're afraid to talk about.
I love his honesty.
Exactly.
Just his honesty, and he makes me laugh. What can I tell you? He just makes me laugh.
Donald foresees what our country's heading to.
Mm-hmm.
He's ahead of the game.
Mm-hmm.
If the next president becomes Hillary, she's going to have to deal with all these problems, these huge problems that Donald foresees. And our country is going to have one disaster after another. Donald wants to fix our system. There's too many shootings, there's too many bombs going on, there's too many problems with the whole homeland security, the whole immigration situation about helping all people. But the problem is it's getting out of control. And it's only get worse. And I'll tell you one thing, in my opinion, I think if he doesn't win, I think our country's finished. We have to take a long uphill battle to get our country back in shape.
I'm so afraid for my children and my grandchildren
Same
that
thing.
will happen someday.